Recently, there's been some drama surrounding Daryl Morey, the Houston Rockets, and China. And, well, it became a huge deal. Essentially, the Rockets organization and the NBA's league office got really upset with a tweet that Morey sent out and told him to apologize for something that was deemed offensive to China. Then, China decided to censor all Houston Rockets games from broadcasting now. Now, I'm not going to get into any political matters, but I will talk about the NBA side of things. Why did the NBA almost immediately oppose Morey? Was it all about money? How did China become the NBA's #1 priority anyway? And why are many NBA teams, including the Rockets, just bending over to their requests? How's it going, folks? My name's Andy, and in this video, we're going to take a look at how China has gradually established a stronghold on the NBA market, and why the Rockets censorship is a big deal. So, where do we start? Let's go back to the 1990s to around the early 2000s. David Stern was the commissioner of the NBA, and he was looking to start expanding the sport globally. By that time, the NBA was super popular and rapidly growing in viewership. Stern wanted to reach out to new markets to not only promote the league, but also help give NBA players more opportunities overseas. However, the relationship between Stern and the Chinese Basketball Association started off quite poorly. Initially, Stern and the CBA agreed to a partnership that would open up new arenas and training facilities in China as a way to help grow the sport and get younger players involved in basketball. However, those plans would be scrapped as they could not agree to a fair price. After a few more negotiations, Stern ultimately came up with a solution. He would transfer all of the NBA's intellectual properties over to NBA China, basically a separate division located in China. Joseph Ravich, an advisor from Goldman Sachs, explains this deal. The key to that deal is that NBA China owns all of the rights, past, present, and future, to all NBA trademarks, all NBA content, all the video past, present, and future for Greater China. In other words, the counting starts with every dollar the league will ever earn from broadcasting to one of the biggest NBA TV markets in the world. Essentially, this deal allowed NBA games to be broadcasted all over China, with the NBA getting a huge chunk of that revenue. And it was the first major TV deal to have China broadcast NBA games. Considering that there are more people in China who watch basketball than the entire population of the United States, this led to a massive increase in revenue. In fact, the popularity keeps growing and growing, and it's a huge reason why the NBA salary cap has also jumped up drastically over the last few decades. The league makes more money, which means teams make more money, which means players make more money, which means businesses also make more money, because there's a higher demand for NBA merchandise. However, this also led to some uneasiness because it was a very lopsided deal, with the NBA getting most of the revenue, while TV broadcasts in China were getting a small split of the profits. Chinese television broadcasts sought to change that in the future, and they would, which I'll talk about later. Around this time, Nike and Adidas started to open up factories in China to manufacture shoes and other products. But they were kinda too expensive, and many Chinese people could not even afford the shoes or jerseys they were making. So some other small companies started to make replicas, which are now all over the internet. In fact, many Americans buy replicas too. It kinda pissed off some people, including Michael Jordan, who tried to sue a knockoff company that produced fake Air Jordans, and he won the lawsuit, hooray! But it didn't matter because they kept making them anyway. Fun fact, the chief executive of the NBA division in China was a guy by the name of David Shoemaker. No joke, that's his actual name. That's pretty freaking hilarious considering the context. Oh, and another thing, Yao Ming's arrival in 2002 greatly boosted the popularity of the sport. He was the bridge between the East and the West. It was his arrival to the NBA that set the course for their expansion into the Chinese market. In 2004, the NBA became the first American professional sports league to play a game in China. The Rockets would play 2 preseason games there in front of a roaring crowd who were super excited to see them. They were by far the most popular team in China, mainly because of Yao, but even after he retired, the Rockets were still considered China's team. That's why censoring them became such a big deal, because it hurts Chinese fans as well who've supported them for years. Eric McCollum, the brother of CJ McCollum, spent years playing overseas in China and talked about why the NBA was pushing hard into the Chinese market. There is so much money to be made off the court too, with merchandise, TV, and player appearances. What better place to go than China? This is a market that needs to be tapped into, and it's wise to spend money in and invest in. And the NBA knows that. They're putting guys on a 16-hour flight to play a preseason game. These are all calculated thoughts. Stephon Marbury became the first NBA star who actually went to China to become a national sensation. He even got his own statue in China before Yao Ming did. Fast forward to 2010, Yao Ming's injury-plagued career was coming to a close, but basketball in China was still as popular as ever. The NBA opened their official Weibo account, which is basically the Chinese version of Twitter, and now it has even more followers than the NBA's Twitter account. Fast forward again to 2015. Remember how I talked earlier about the NBA's lopsided deal with the Chinese TV broadcasts? Well, that would change by 2015. Tencent, by the numbers, have the largest amount of digital consumption in the world, with over 960 million users. They agreed to a 5-year partnership with the NBA, where Tencent would pay them $500 million for the broadcasting rights to the NBA games and highlights. Unlike the previous partnerships, this one benefited China greatly, and the NBA too. And recently, the Tencent partnership has been extended for another 5 years, but this time it's for $1.5 billion. So from 2015 to 2017, according to the NBA's reports, it has since gained a 66% increase in viewership, as well as double the average viewership of NBA games. That's an insane increase. You wonder why NBA stars nowadays are making like over 40, sometimes over $50 million a year. It had a lot to do with this agreement with Tencent. Bigger demand equals higher profit margins, and of course, since the NBA is a private organization, money is the #1 priority, so the owners and the players loved it. To give you guys a perspective on how big the Chinese market actually is, in the 2017 NBA Finals, Nielsen's report said that each game averaged a total of 20.4 million viewers in the United States. But in China, each game averaged about 25 million viewers. Also, a total of 200 million viewers at some point watched the NBA Finals on their mobile devices alone. Fans literally watch the NBA games on their commutes to work or when eating at a restaurant, basically anywhere they go. It's way more popular there than here in America. The NBA's official WeChat page is also the most followed sports account on the entire platform. Also in 2017, Kobe Bryant became the first foreigner to open a basketball academy in Hainan, China. A few months later, 3 more training facilities would be opened in other provinces as well. This became a domino effect, as players started to realize how much influence China really has. Guys like Dwayne Wade and Klay Thompson would follow suit. In 2018, Wade signed a lifetime deal with Li Ning, a Chinese apparel company. When asked about this, Wade responded, "This was something I needed to do from the standpoint of building something. That's what I set out to do. This word we'll talk about, legacy. I tried to set out to build a legacy for myself and my family. And after 6 years of that, it's cool to be here today." Klay Thompson signed a shoe deal with Anta worth $9 million a year. And it's not only Chinese shoe companies seeing the growth, Nike is as well. 40% of their growth margins from 2018 came from China. So the top guys at Nike like LeBron, Durant, Kyrie, they're all benefiting too. And as long as they cooperate, their brands just keep on growing. Oh, and Nike also has a partnership with the NBA since 2015, so everything is connected. This brings us to today. The NBA, including its players and teams, have so much vested interest in China that breaking this relationship could be catastrophic. Let's compare this to, let's say, the Enes Kanter situation with Turkey. We all know Kanter fiercely opposes Turkey's government, so in response, the NBA terminated their relationship with a Turkish Twitter account. However, when it comes to China, it's the complete opposite. Despite the fact that the NBA is an American product, China has such a strong foothold that they're the ones who can threaten to terminate a relationship. That's what happened with the Houston Rockets after Daryl Morey made just one tweet. And now, apparently, the Houston Rockets no longer exist in China. That's also why the owner of the Rockets, Tillman Fertitta, was so pissed off, cause Mori single-handedly killed a significant portion of the team's revenue. Afterwards, the NBA, as always, operates with the owner's interests in mind, so they blasted Mori and told him to apologize. You might think this only affects the Rockets, but it's way more than that. This sets a really awkward precedent that might affect other teams in the future. In a world where rapid globalization is happening, with China being the center of production and consumerism, the NBA catered to that audience because they needed to in order to grow. That applies to not only basketball, but also the majority of the entertainment industry. That's all, folks. That sums up the timeline of how China became the dominant NBA market. And it seems like nowadays they've grabbed the NBA by the balls. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I know this topic was different than my usual videos, but I hope you guys enjoyed it anyway. Thank you everyone so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.